Hey guys, it is Chris Stafford here, and welcome to the Agent Unleashed. I am super excited to introduce a dear friend of mine, Sharon Holland Gelfand, that is a former banker turned certified functional nutritionist and mindset coach. This woman has absolutely, Sharon, you have absolutely inspired me and rocked my world with some of the stuff that you have told me, especially recently. But you were changed in your from a banker to a functional nutritionist, and that change was inspired by your son's battle with Crohn's disease. And it was a challenge that not only led to a reduction in his medications, but also paved the way for Sharon's health journey. She's the author of The Gut Method: Secrets Beyond the Plate for a Healthier, More Energetic Life. Her wisdom has been shared on NBC, ABC, iHeartRadio, and Voice America, among others. So she works with, and the reason she's here with the Agent Unleashed is she works with ambitious professionals. I'm not ambitious, by the way. She works with ambitious professionals to balance the demands of their careers with their personal lives, steering them away from the brink of burnout to a life marked by confidence, joy, and well-being. Sharon, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so happy.
Thank you for having me, Chris. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, cool. I have so many really cool questions because I'm sure that the people that are going to be watching this, that are watching this live and that are going to be watching this on the recording are like, okay, what the hell is Chris doing, bringing on a nutritionist specialist? And so my first question for you is, and I think this is going to become really apparent to a lot of people listening to this recording, is, I've always felt that listing agents, which is what this is sort of geared towards, listing real estate agents, we're running our own empires. Okay, so we are entrepreneurs. And I'm always asking people, what do you think, especially as an entrepreneur, because you're an entrepreneur, a very successful one at that, by the way, coming from New York City. What do you think is the most essential component of being a successful entrepreneur, having a successful business?
Oh, such a great question. That's a little bit of a trick question. I don't think you told me that was going to be one of the questions, but not surprised. It's really interesting because as entrepreneurs, and many of us are solopreneurs in the work that we do, we have tunnel vision, and it's like we're focused on the task, and everything can be black and white. And what I've discovered for myself and from working with my clients and my own journey and their journeys is that the most important thing is to really take that step back, because we're always doing. And we actually have to stop and pause and be and connect to our bodies, because we're up here constantly. And we don't do that connection enough. So it's like Ichabod Crane, on Halloween, like running around with the headless horseman, with the head in the hand kind of thing. That is the most important thing, is that awareness and connection and consciousness, so that we can really unleash what we are meant to be as superstars.
I love that. I think that's amazing, because I think that you use the word consciousness, and to be conscious and lead a conscious life. And I'm always talking about that because, we're, like you said, we're always running 100 miles an hour, and we're not really paying attention to what's happening, with our body and with our mindset. And, we're so task oriented. This is one of the reasons why. So one of the courses, the course that I have is the Agent Unleashed Collective. And in the collective, for me, I talk all about mindset and health. And that's really the foundation, really, for any entrepreneur. Not a lot of entrepreneurs talk about that. And so do you have a lot of entrepreneurs asking you, okay, what does health have to do with it? And especially, and I'm sort of leading into my next question, not only what does health and mindset have to do with it, but what in the hell does gut have to do with it?
Where do I start? Oh my God, I feel like I can start a whole soliloquy now, and I'll just
I have to interrupt you, because I titled this whole thing, "How Can Your Gut Make You a Better Listing Agent?" And so have at it.
On so many levels, right? Because just, you know, to continue on from like the first part of what we were just talking about, as entrepreneurs and the doing, and we're overachievers, right? And we're trying to control things. When
Yeah.
we're so stuck in our head and disconnected from our bodies, we're not truly tuning into how we're feeling. And that's when I say feeling, it's not just feeling how we're feeling physically, it's how are we feeling emotionally and mentally.
Yes.
And
Yes.
even for those who might be a little bit more spiritually. But the thing about and why the gut is so important is because, yeah, you have your brain, right? We're all up here in our brain, but our gut is actually our second brain. And our gut, you know, our whole microbiome, there are trillions of bacteria, and they set up, they're good, the bad, the ugly. Nobody has a perfect microbiome. Even nutritionists like myself, you know, we are living human beings. So things change just as we grow, just as our hair grows, you know, our nails grow. So we have to adapt. And when we don't pay attention to our gut, which is second brain, and it's attached to our brain, then the more disconnected we become, this storm starts to build. And these bacteria start to have little colonies, and they start talking, and they're like, I don't like you. Well, I don't like you. And they go at war to each other. And as they're trying to attack each other, they also start attacking the healthy bacteria because they can't see what's happening because there's so much smoke. And when I say the smoke, that's the confusion. If we're not feeding our bodies properly and we're not able to digest and metabolize, then the food in our gut can't make its way up to our brain, which is connected via the vagus nerve, which is like the superconductor highway, and it goes back and forth. So if we're not being mindful of what we're feeding our gut and how our gut is feeling emotionally, because we do have the emotions there, will go haywire. And then disease happens, and we're like, oh, I'm just getting older. Oh my God, that's the biggest thing I hear. I'm just getting older. All right. I'm not going to curse. I don't know if this is like, you know.
Oh, go for it. Go for it.
Well, this isn't really such a bad curse, but it's like such bullshit, this whole thing. Yes, of course, we're all getting older, but that's not an excuse to think that that's just my body. Right? Or my parents had high cholesterol, I have it also. That's such bullshit. You know, it's like we're being fed and conditioned to believe all these things instead of asking ourselves, is that true? And being curious. So, I mean, I'm going to pause because I said a lot.
No, but this is really good what you're saying, but let me play devil's advocate or hopefully make a connection here. What the hell does this have to do with being a good entrepreneur?
Great. So to continue with that and to expand on it, whether you want to be a good entrepreneur, a good parent, a good worker, for any person who's a professional or an entrepreneur, anybody that uses their mind needs to be clear. We need to have mental acuity. We need to be fresh. We need to not, you know, get tired at 3 o'clock and need to go for the diet soda or the chocolate, the quick fix, you know, pick me up, the grabbing, the sugary, whatever it is. So the reason that the gut is so important, sorry, I talk with my hands a lot and I'm looking and I'm like,
no, I'm loving it. I love it.
And I'm not even Italian and I got all this hand going.
I love it.
That's what happens when I get excited. So when that happens and our brain is not sharp, it's because we're not fueling our bodies properly, and things get digested and metabolized in the gut. And I'm not even talking just gut. I'm talking about how your liver metabolizes, and you know, the liver makes bile, and then the bile gets stored in the gallbladders to help break down the fats. And side note, there are more and more gallbladder surgeries than there have ever been before because people are not eating properly. And so many things can be avoided. So if you're starting to get sluggish in your gut with your liver, with kidneys not functioning properly, things are a little elevated, your blood sugar's up, yeah, you know, we'll put you on this. Your cholesterol's up, we'll put you on that. But if we're not feeding ourselves properly, we are depriving our brain of the proper nutrients to be able to think clearly. Okay. And that's the problem.
And so at the risk of being Captain Obvious here, the what I'm drawing or connecting to is the fact is if we're feeling sluggish, if we're feeling like crap, then we're not going to be effective in our business. We're not going to be effective listing agents, and we're just going to be sort of blah and not really be able to function at a high level for our business, right? I mean, that's the whole point.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're not going to be sharp, so we're not going to listen clearly. And that we might speak more because we're not listening. We might then get overwhelmed, overstimulated, and then start doing so many different things and multitask when we should focus on one thing. And then we get overwhelmed, and then we get anxious. And again, that all affects how we're going to show up in our contract writing, in negotiations, in being there as a human being to have a conversation with another person, because we're irritated or overwhelmed and we can't control it.
Sure, absolutely. I absolutely love that. And I totally believe that because, again, like I said, this is going to affect your health. That's going to affect your mindset. And you're right. You're not going to be the best listing agent. You're not going to be the best entrepreneur that you can. It's really interesting to me because I talk to a lot of health professionals, and this whole, okay, just for, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the whole issue of microbiome, that word that I just learned about 6 months ago, is the same thing as the gut, essentially. And this has become sort of like a hot topic. Now, I've known you for a long time, Sharon. You've been talking about the gut for a really long time. How did that even get on your radar?
That is a result of my son's diagnosis, So as in my introduction, I used to be a banker. I had a business with my former husband, and I was a mom trying to do it all. I'd been compartmentalizing. This is another thing we do as entrepreneurs, as listing agents. We compartmentalize. All right, I don't need to worry about that right now. That little pain, it's going to go away. That headache, it's going to go away. All of that I'm not sleeping well, compartmentalized. My body was falling apart, but I was healthy. Nobody told me otherwise, right? I was on Imatrix shots for migraines. I had sinus infections. I had eczema. I had IBS. My body was falling apart, but I was healthy. Wow. Right? I was healthy. So I'm like, all right, I'm getting older. I'm a mom. I'm working. I'm fill in the blank. And I was going along like that until one of my kids was diagnosed with Crohn's. And I will never forget two things. We sat in the office, and my son, first of all, you don't tell a 12-year-old that he has a disease because his eyes popped out of his head. And when he heard disease, he thought he was going to die. And we switched doctors. And don't get me wrong, doctors save lives, so I'm not poo-pooing doctors. But this one did not have a great bedside manner. That being said, I said to her, because I knew nothing about gut, I'm like, I don't understand colon and what? And but the more she talked about the gut and stay away from nuts and stay away from raw vegetables, because that can create like lacerations because they're sharp, so that can inflame the colon. And I said, all right, and we'll put him on a medicine, he'll be fine. I said, all right, well, shouldn't I maybe change what he's eating? Now, mind you, my son ate only white: pizza, yogurt, cereal, pasta. Kid did not eat a vegetable at all. And she's like, don't worry about any of that. He can still eat what he wants. The medicine will help. And I had a little, like that, that something in your gut. Like
intuition.
Something, that mother's intuition. But I was like, this is an expert. Who might I question? I didn't know any better, this is a while ago. Then about a week later, my son comes crying to me, bent over in pain. He's like, Mommy, I'm getting worse. It's the medicine. I called up the doctor. She's like, it's not the medicine, it's the disease. And I'm like, are you sure? My son is telling me he's not well. All right. So now it's like, I'm torn. I want to believe my son, but the doctor's supposed to know better. And my son threw a tantrum, and he was like yelling at me, why aren't you listening to me? And I literally stopped in my tracks and I was like, why aren't I listening to him? Because he's a kid. And it was just like a sucker punch. And so that was the second thing where I thought, I'm going to listen to my son. Like, I really just like tuned in to trust. We all have a knowing. We all have a knowing. So P.S. I took him off the medicine. And he got better from the medicine part, right? So the medicine was making him worse. He
Wow.
started to heal from removing that medicine. We found another one that was a better one for him, and eventually I switched doctors. But that
Wow.
was the turning point of, oh my God, if this is something brand new to me and I didn't, and it's like I can ask questions. I realized like I have to be my son's health advocate. So I started going on Dr. Google, right? It's hours later. And I have friends who had done all different types of holistic things. And I was like, no, it's not answering. It's not answering. And finally I turned to my sister who was a doctor. I'm like, I'm going to grad school. I'm getting a master's in nutrition. I need to understand what's happening with my son. Doesn't everybody do that? I literally, Chris, it was that moment also. I was like, who said that? Did that just come out of my mouth? I hated science when I was in high school. Math was my thing, numbers.
Wow.
And now, but that's what led me down the path. And it opened up a whole new world of realizing we're so conditioned to believing experts and we don't question anything. And we have to be curious. Is it true?
Wow.
And
Right.
I can't even imagine now, like it was a blessing in disguise.
That's amazing. And that's a heartbreaking story that your son had to go through that. But the fact that knowing you, how I know you, of course you're going to take the bull by the horns and enroll yourself in a master's program.
Cowboy hat and everything.
I love it. Okay, so just to be clear, what we really, we are what we eat. The microbiome is super important. It's going to affect our health and our mindset. I love the name of your book called the GUT Method, Secrets Beyond the Plate for a Healthy, More Energetic Life. So educate me, for entrepreneurs, so let's just say, okay, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a top listing agent, I'm out of energy, and I really want to do more production. I want to have a fuller life, blah, blah, blah. Is there a one size fits all? How does this whole thing work? Can I drink wine? Can I eat white bread? Am I banned from pizza for life?
Chris, I know how you like to drink, so we've had drinks together.
Oh, that was back in the day, Sharon.
Fun times.
Oh, God.
Wow. So it is not a one size fits all. That's why diets fail, right? Because we're all trying to find the next fix that helps somebody, thinking it's going to help us. But I just want to pause because you said like we are what we eat. It's actually more than that. We're what we think and what we feel, because that affects everything. Because when we're stressed and we're not conscious and aware of what's going on, the stress alone can release cortisol, which is damaging and causes inflammation in the body, right? So that's why it becomes a vicious cycle. So, and the reason that my book came to be what it was like you said, the GUT was like, we need a simple system to just get started. And the way to do that is to get grounded and connected. So G is the grounding and getting connected to ourselves. We need to take time every day for ourselves. And, I'm sorry, I'm going to call BS on you have to get up at 5 a.m. and do your morning routine and blah, 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 blah. If it doesn't work for you, find what does work for you. Don't push yourself, right, to do what doesn't work, because that's going to backfire. But when you get grounded and get connected, and I have like a whole step-by-step in my book, because it's part book, part workbook of what's going on, like learning how to scan my body and what am I feeling. And then you can uncover and understand the you part of, all right, if I'm starting to feel this way, picking one thing, what do I want to do first? I'm understanding that I'm very tired in the morning. All right. What did I eat last night? Did I have wine last night? Did I eat white bread and the pizza? Is it really bothering me the next day? Is my eczema because I have a sensitivity to dairy? Is the so many people clear their throat and they're completely unaware that they do it, or they're sniffling, completely unaware. is that a connection to the food that I'm eating? And that's where you start journaling and taking notes. How am I feeling 1 hour, 3 hours, the next day? What are my thoughts? Am I stressed out all the time? How can I, calm down those thoughts? And it's really spending time going through those steps before then deciding what's the one thing that I want to do right now. It's like that book, right? The one thing. We try to do everything all at once. And for some people, that's great. But for most people, we short circuit because it's not sustainable.
I
So,
see.
right? It's like picking 1 to 3 things. And my first 3 things that I always start people with that are so simple is breathing. Is just breathing in through the nose and sighing it out through the mouth, and doing just even 5 breaths like that throughout the day. Because what that does is you pause. You can't worry about something and breathe at the same, and pay attention to your breathing at the same time. Because you're focusing on the breath. You can't focus on that breath and worry about something.
It's like a mini meditation.
Kind of, yeah. You can look at it as that. Some people don't like that meditation word. So for those who it works for, great. If it doesn't work, that it's a meditation, it's just breathing. And then it's, yes, drinking a glass of water, because so many times we're just dehydrated and we're thirsty. We're not hungry. So it's like, and allowing the water in our cells. So actually, let me backtrack to the breathing. Because when we breathe in through the nose, the villi are filters, right? So it cleans the air, and then it also helps to produce nitric oxide, which is a vasodilator. So it expands, it allows the breath to go to our cells. Part of why we get tired is because we don't have proper breath, and our cells are all constricted, and we're dehydrated, so our cells are not round and plump, they're deformed. And the other thing, and that also makes you mindful. And then the third thing that we can do that's also very simple before even doing anything else is chewing our food. It's like sitting down and just taking a bite, paying attention.
Nobody taught me how to do that, Sharon.
Nobody taught any of us.
I just inhale it.
And how many times are you with people who eat and talk at the same time, and it's spitting out of their mouth?
Exactly. And
I'm telling you, I bet now everybody who's going to be watching this, next time you go out to eat or eat with people, you're going to notice how people are inhaling, and we tend to do what others do. It's like we'll grab the bread, so it's just gives us an opportunity to pause.
I love that. So really what you're saying, I mean, you're giving some tips on how to become more conscious, but the bottom line is it's about becoming more grounded, but it's also related to the food as well too. So it's sort of trial and error. And let me see if I got this right. You try to figure out what's the 1 or 2 issues that you want to fix in your life, whether it's, okay, I'm really tired in the morning, and then it's trial and error in terms of how you're grounding yourself, number 1, and number 2 is what are the foods that you're using.
So yes and no. It is if you want to do it yourself. It isn't if you work with a practitioner who you're aligned with, who listens to you, who answers your questions, who doesn't make you feel like you're crazy in the head, and they do testing. I believe in testing, not guessing. But for many people, they like it a do-it-yourself, especially for entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, right? We can do it ourselves. I don't need your help. That's why the book is a great place, and doing this method of grounding, understanding, and picking one place to start can be something simple and not so overwhelming. But truly, if you really want to know what's going on, it's really important to do testing to see what are my inflammation markers? What's my immune system doing? Or do I have more bad bacteria than good? Are there parasites? It goes on and on.
Are these medical tests or?
The way that I do the testing is that they're at-home testing. So a kit is mailed to them. So it's a stool test. I don't look at your poop. I have no interest in looking at your poop. That's gross. Don't send it to me because I'm going to send it back.
I love it. I love it.
I get the results, and then there's a conversation of like, this is what's revealed, you know, and I do hair analysis where you send in a hair sample to see what minerals are off. There are a bunch of tests, and so that's a way to start. Some people might have a really good functional practitioner. Go in and ask them to do a thorough, it's not just blood work. Blood work can vary from doctor to doctor. And what's normal is not really functionally normal for many functional doctors and functional nutritionists.
This is interesting. So I have a bunch more questions. I could talk to you forever. Melanie, though, Melanie wants to know, how long does this process take?
Melanie, can you just be more specific when you say this process of what, healing or uncovering what's going on?
No, I think she's referring to the uncovering.
Okay, so the test itself takes a few days to get to you. You send it in. It could take 2 weeks to get the results. It depends on what time of year it is and how busy they are. And then it's a consultation to find out, to review everything and filling out a questionnaire, and then deciding on what the protocol is. And I have to tell you, I've tried it in as little as 3 months. It doesn't work as well as if it's 6 months, because the body needs time to heal.
Okay, that makes sense. So roughly about a 6 month period.
Yeah.
But
for some people, it could be longer. To be honest, it depends on what's going on, because that's, again, it's individual. But you were saying the point of what?
Well, so I just want to keep driving home the point, because, you know, this show, my business, is really about making sure that we're the best listing agents and the best entrepreneurs. Obviously, I'm sure you have a lot of case studies and people who have become a lot more productive, and that's the whole point of this, is really understanding our bodies and how we can become more productive and more energetic and more motivated and blah 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 by doing this. And this is going to have a huge effect too then on our mindset, right? And one of the things I love talking about, because I know that you're a mindset coach and you have got some of the most amazing wisdom around this. And there's so many people that really have addictive personalities. How, I guess, when you're, you know, I want to get more towards talking about the mindset, but when you're doing this analyses and you're talking about the microbiome and the gut, but you've got to also deal, you know, I'm just sort of like, I'm trying to form my question here. You also have to deal with their mindset, right? And what if somebody does have a real addictive personality, or what if they have a mindset that really is off the rails? And do you work with both in tandem, or does one solve the other? How does that all work?
Amazing question, and a very important question, because it can't be one either or. It has to be together, right? Because we're talking about the gut and our mind. And so what I had discovered was, and why I, you know, went from my national board certification, is that the mindset, if you could do everything right on paper, or, you know, with the food and the supplements that you need, the healing, all of that stuff, if you don't mind your mind, and you don't mind like the stress and uncovering how you self-sabotage and understanding your triggers emotionally and mentally, it doesn't even matter how healthy you are, the mindset can really screw it all up. And so, yes, I do work in tandem, because so many times people may stress eat or emotional eat. So, you know, it's important. And then we judge ourselves. And we've got all these saboteurs, you know, we avoid things, we control things, we're sticklers, there's like 9 of them, plus the judge. But if we don't do that work, and we just do
in tandem,
like, so when I work privately with people, they have to do both. But when I do group programs, really, I start with the mindset group program first. Because the mindset alone can help them with everything else. Because how you show up in one way is how you're going to show up everywhere.
But conversely, though, Sharon, if you're feeling good, when I'm feeling good and I'm feeling really super healthy and
Yeah.
energized, my mindset is always like it's my A game.
Hmm.
So, which comes first, the
The
chicken
chicken
or
or
the
the egg? It's
uh,
and listen, the thing is, it's when we're born, when we're in utero, it's born together. So it's not
mhm,
one comes first before the other. It's in tandem. And
mhm,
that's why it's so important to pay attention to both. But for instance, like you're right, like if you are eating well and you're eating healthy, or at least you think that what you're healthy is healthy,
mhm,
if your mind is not focused on the right things and you keep playing the same things over and over and over and over
mhm,
again, you
mhm,
can still be eating really healthy. But if you're not recognizing, it goes back to right what we were saying, the consciousness,
yes,
right?
leading a conscious life.
It's like we all have a vibration and an energy. And like, it's
Mhm,
like, I know you and I've talked about this. Like you go into a room and like you're drawn to some people and other people repel you and vice versa. It's like, I don't like that person's energy. That's a real thing. And
mhm,
so we all have this vibrational energy, and we sometimes will not allow ourselves to feel what we're feeling because we're always up here doing. And
mhm,
when our brain takes over, our judge takes over, we're in this self-sabotaging space of our head. So we let things happen to us. That right.
mm,
So then that takes over. It's like putting your hand on the hot stove and I'm just gonna leave it there. I'm just gonna leave it there. Ooh, my skin is searing off. Oh my goodness, look at that. All I have are
right,
bones left. Nobody does that, but we do that
right.
all the time up here with our mindset. So if we don't learn how to catch it and realize what's triggering us so that we can pause,
Mhm,
ooh, what's really going on here? Why is this
right,
making me
right.
feel this way? Because all of that is going to affect us. Because if you have a client that you had a bad conversation, so many people worry. I have a lot of friends who are real estate brokers. They worry. Oh my God, I
Mhm,
shouldn't have said that. My client's
mhm,
going to leave me. I'm going to lose the listing, right?
mhm,
We go down the rabbit
mhm,
hole.
mhm,
So if we don't pay attention to all of that, forget about even the food. Yes, we have to be healthy, but if we're really not minding our mind,
mhm.
we're not going to be effective. We're just going to sit and we're going to stare at the computer. We're going to just waste time.
Right, exactly. Well, and the conversely, and I'll tell you something, at the risk of getting a little vulnerable, is that sometimes, and I'm catching myself and getting a lot better than that, is that when something really good happens to you and you like close a big deal or you do something, and then the saboteur takes over and you do something really stupid and you self-sabotage by, as a vegetarian, eating a sausage pizza, and then you feel like throwing up, and the next day you feel like crap. I mean, do you see a lot of people like that are really self-sabotaging themselves?
All the time. Well, it starts that way, and then eventually it stops because they realize I have control over what I'm thinking. And we
Wow.
think that we don't, but we do.
Mhm,
And when people, and this is so interesting because this comes up a lot of, I don't have a choice. You ever hear
mhm,
people say that? I didn't have a
mhm.
choice.
Right.
Saying I didn't have a choice was a choice that you made that to say I don't have a choice.
Mhm.
And sometimes
Right.
just saying that, they're like, what are you talking about? I had to, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, did you? Right? It's like,
Mm,
is that true? So, and then to the food, we self sabotage because we have this fear of failure, but then we have a fear of success because it makes
mm,
us, it's like, wow, did I really do that? Oh my God, so the judge wants to bring us back and wants us to like kind of sit in, even if it's uncomfortable, it's familiar.
mhm.
And
Yes,
we like familiar.
because we've had years of training in effed up behavior.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Listen, we were born that way. And
Yeah.
and our parents all did the best that they could. And I work so much with like healing mother-daughter relationships and stuff where we blame. Stop blaming people. All right. You're an adult. All right. It happened. I don't want to say get over it, but do something about it.
Mhm.
Do
Can I,
something about it.
if you have a pen and paper, you have to take down my sister's phone number because she
I
needs
know
to talk to
I know we've
you.
talked about
Oops,
your
I shouldn't have
sister.
said, I
Hi,
shouldn't say
sis.
that. I shouldn't have said that. Love you, Susan.
Love you, Susan.
um, you know what's interesting that I don't know how, I don't want to get into it in too much detail, but do you want to talk about you had me do a test about the self-saboteurs,
Yeah.
and do you want to talk just a little bit about that and how that can help entrepreneurs working with you? Because I just found that whole thing fascinating.
Yes. So there is an assessment. You know, if people are interested in learning more, they can reach out to me. But
Mhm.
basically, it's asking a bunch of questions. I think it took you what, about 10, 15 minutes to fill it out, right?
Sounds right, yeah.
Yeah. And these questions really help us to uncover 10 saboteurs. One is the judge, and then there are 9 others. And we all have every single one of them, some more than others. So for
Mhm.
those who know Chris, I'm, not throwing him under the bus, but like his top, and it was a 10, was hyperachiever. Are you surprised? Not. But
So, interpret that though. So, for somebody listening, why being a high achiever? Why is that a saboteur?
Okay,
Why? What does that have
that's
to do?
so yes, and that's what I was going to continue with, was that,
Okay, sorry.
these, no, that's okay. Growing up, these saboteurs helped us, right? They were our strengths, and they helped us to achieve where we went. But with the hyperachievers, it's never enough. And there always has to be more. So it's always coming from a place of the fear, even though it doesn't feel like fear. There's something deep of like, either we have to prove
Mm,
something, or it's not good
wow.
enough, or, right, there's
Ding,
always going
ding,
to,
ding.
right? And it's
Mm,
up here. So when we're up here, we're driven by this fear, and then it's constant rumination, constant rumination.
mm,
So, and what that does, yes, it'll spur us on. And I've had clients when they started with me say, I need my judge, I need my hyperachiever to get me, blah, blah. I'm like, do you really? Or is that just your judge judging you from what you're thinking that you need?
mm,
And is there
mm,
another way to look at this? Then, as you uncover all of this, and understanding the strengths and the why and the history of it, the idea then is to, with an app and these tools that I use, to be able to recognize it. And then as you recognize it, to stop in its tracks. And it's a practice, right? Didn't
mm,
happen overnight. It's not going to be
mm,
fixed overnight. But to stop, and like, you want to always come from a place, from your heart, from a place of love, from a place of authenticity. And when we're in that hyperachiever mode, we have a facade up. There's a mask on us, because God forbid we show people what's really behind it. So we
mm,
keep pushing because we're afraid they're going to see the real me. And for some people, it might feel like imposter syndrome, right?
mm.
When we can learn and recognize and become more resilient with it, and come from the place of love and vulnerability and authenticity, that's
Mhm.
where the connection happens. And I mean, Chris, you know this, especially with COVID these last few years, everyone is craving community and connection.
Mhm.
There's so much bullshit out there. There's so much being sold to. It's like, we just want to be seen. We want to be heard. We want to be loved. We want to feel connected.
Yes. Yes.
And
That
that's going
is,
to make us better professionals, because we're doing it from that place of love, not fear.
I love that. I was just having a conversation this afternoon with one of my coaching clients. We were talking exactly that, about needing that connection with other people, especially for high achievers. You need that kind of connection, or you sort of feel like you're in a wasteland or something. Like, things are just really heading south for you. So, I have like 18 more questions, but I promised you time. And actually, I just answered your question, Curtis. He wanted to know how to reach you. I just posted it in the comments. And for those of you that are listening to the recording, I'll certainly put this in the show notes. Sharon, I could sit here and talk all night with you. I have so many questions for you. Yeah, like, what are you having for dinner tonight? Just kidding.
Oh my
Just
God,
kidding.
Chris, we should do a retreat.
I love it. I love it. We should definitely do that. I love it. So for those of you that are looking to talk to Sharon, I highly recommend the tools that she uses, the apps that she uses, and her whole process, which is just amazing. It's at SharonHolland.com/schedule. Okay, and I just put that in the comments, SharonHolland.com/schedule. Book a call with her, and I'm assuming that you can have a consultation call or something, so
Yeah, I
people
offer
can get into your.
complimentary. Yep, because listen, first I want to know what's going on, and second, let's see if we're the right fit. You know,
Yeah,
it's I don't I if we're not jiving, that's okay. And I
yeah,
always tell people,
yeah.
I'm going to help you make a decision by the end of this call that's right for you. It's because it's all about you. Has nothing to do with me. My ego is long gone. All about
Mm.
you. And if I can help, great. If not, hopefully I can direct you.
Hey, listen, that is a very sophisticated and elegant way to say, people, that Sharon doesn't work with jackasses. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But listen, it's just such an honor. I love talking to you. I highly recommend everybody listening to this recording. Make sure you jump onto her website, book a call with her. You will not regret it. You are absolutely a delight, Sharon.
Oh,
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you joining me tonight.
Oh my God, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right, you take care of yourself.
You too.
All right.